Okay, we're starting Be'ezer Hashem Siman Hey of Maamar Shevuos, and the subject here is the Maamar of Chazal that Hadar b'chutz la'aretz ki'ilu oved avodah zarah, and the Rabbi is going to try to prove that this Maamar is not noeg b'zman hazeh, because the whole reason for it is because when you go into chutz la'aretz, you're going to live under goyim that do avodah zarah, and when you're doing service to them, it's as if you're serving what they serve. Mashenkin Bisman said that even in Eretz Yisrael, there's no Memshelas Yisrael Hamaminim. So when you're living in Eretz Yisrael, also you're kilo over the avodah zarah. There's no milah to living in Eretz Yisrael mitzad that. There are other milas, but not this milah. So let's see his raya that he brings here from Rashi in Tanakh. Uvalav hachi b'roiv kisvei Tanakh b'shmuel aleph chaf vav. That in most printings of the Tanakh, and Shmuel Aleph Chav Vav, this is the pasuk that the Gemara brings to prove that Ki'ilu Oved Avodah Zarah, and the pasuk is that David HaMelech said that he's running away from Shaul and he had to leave Eretz Yisrael. So and he said Ki'ilu, they said to me, Lech Avodah Elohim Acherim. So Rashi on that pasuk, Mevur b'Rashi Zal Sham Ala Kasuv Gershuni V'Goymer Leimor Lech Avodah Elohim Acherim. Hayotzim Eretz, so Rashi says on that pasuk, Hayotzim Eretz Yisrael chutz la'aretz bisman habayis ki'ilu oved avodah zarah. That it's only bisman habayis that when you go out to chutz la'aretz, it's ki'ilu oved avodah zarah. Mavur beferish she'ein ze'el bisman habayis. You see, it's only bisman habayis. Omnam be'ezu tfusim nishmat tevas bisman habayis. In some printings of the Tanakh, the words bisman habayis are left out. Ulam gam b'lavachi kivan shehevi Rashi zal sham al zeh mash kasav v'targum yoniston, that even without the word bisman habayis, you can still prove that Rashi held it was only bisman habayis, because Rashi brings the targum yoniston, which says on this pasuk, Azil David beni amamaya palchi tavasa. It says David went among the nations who do avodah zarah, who worship idols. So you see from this that the pasuk, when it says David himself was going to do idol worship, right? And the Targum is saying it means he's going to live among nations who do it. So why is living among nations ki'ilu he did it? So you see that's the idea here. The idea is you're serving them, they're serving the getchka, so it's as if you're serving the getchka, but not the etzem that David's going to do it. But Al-Quds, you see from this that that's the pshat in the pasuk. The pasuk doesn't mean something else. It means this. It means going to live among the nations is ki'ilu oved avodah zarah. So according to this, it will only be bisman habayis. Shmoina dik shahoylech b'goyla nikra ki'ilu oved avodah zarah. Began b'parshas v'eschanan ala kasuv v'avadtem sham Elohim ma'aseh yedei adam. So there, pirshu shnei targumim. Both targumim say on this pasuk, when it says that you will worship idols in Galus, it's the targum unkelis, the targum yonason, v'chein pirsh Rashi zal. Rashi says that the pshat is like the targum, that misha atem oivdim leovdehem, when you serve those who serve them, ki'ilu atem oivdim lahem. V'harei lecha mavur lahedya shemachmas zen nikru haholchim bagoy lebeinu umois ki'ilu oivdei avodah zarah. Yan shenastu meshubalim leovdei avodah zarah. So that's the pshat, that they become meshubah to the oivdei avodah zarah. V'zdeh loy hayashach rak bizman rak boeis shahayu Yisrael shruim al masam. This was only applicable when Yidden lived in their land. There was a government that believed in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So when someone went out of that place, they lived under a government that did avodah zarah. It's considered as if they did avodah zarah. Not just to dispel any notion that someone might be saying that living under a nation, let's say an atheistic country, or a country that doesn't have any religion, or a country that's like the Tzionim today, who don't have any religion. So living under such a thing, maybe that's not as bad as avodah zarah. So I'm gonna have a little Maamar here. Here, this is yours. And last page. Put it last. I thought I was going to get to it last, but just say it now. That the Gemara really says there that someone should live in a city, even that's Ruba Goyim. These are questions that Reb Pinchas Bierfeld asked the Brisker Rav, when he visited him, and he said, "Isa begemara v'nifsek b'Rambam lo'olam yadir adam be'eretz Yisrael afilu be'ir sheruba goyim, v'lo yadir b'chutz la'aretz afilu be'ir sheruba Yisrael." It's better to live in Eretz Yisrael, even in a city full of goyim, than to live in chutz la'aretz in a city full of Yidden. So, the person should live in Eretz Yisrael. So the Brisker Rav answered, "Ir sheruba goyim namar, ir sheruba koifim loy namar." Koifim is worse than goyim. So that Chazal didn't mean that. And then in Vayoel Moshe itself, two tzaddikim were mechapen to the same svara. Take a look in Maamar Yishuv Eretz Yisrael, Siman Lamed Gimel. It's on page Reish Lamed Gimel in the pages of the Sefer, and it's in the second paragraph of Siman Lamed Gimel. That Jewish apikorsim are gruim me'akum. They're worse than Oivdei Zara. Shahar be'akum loy ma'alim v'loy moridin. That the din is that goyim, you don't kill them, but you don't help them. But apikorsim moridin v'loy ma'alim. The din is you davka let them go down into the pit. You don't take them out, and you let them down. You kill them. Mizman said we don't do it, but Lamai said that was the din at the time of Chazal. Now in Apikoros Yisrael, it's Meis Sumidiach other Yidden. You can kill him.
You don't kill a guy shemaisis?
What?
If let's say a guy says his own views, try to get Jews to leave the Torah, you don't kill such a guy?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
I don't think so.
All right.
I don't know. I don't think so. So now, V'nir hatam, I'll just skip down a few lines. He brings the poskim, and he says, V'nir hatam b'zeh b'shvil sha'alulim yoyster minu akum l'hasir lev ha'am me'achri Hashem yisbarach. That they're more likely than people who do avodah zarah to get people to leave avodas Hashem. V'im kein hadavar pashut shagara harbe yoyster lader be'ir sheruba meaning v'apikorsim me'ir sheruba akum. It's much worse to live in a city that's ruba apikorsim than ruba akum. And then let's skip down a little bit more. Over here on the left side, it says V'im Kain b'masha amru afil be'ir sheruba akum hoydiyun lagvul de be'ir sheruba minim degar be'ir sheruba akum loy amru l'adad be'eretz Yisrael. That Chazal said that you should live even in the ir sheruba akum. That's the gvul. It means even that, but nothing more than that. So ir sheruba minim is worse than ir sheruba akum. Okay.
And what about the argument, go to B'nai Brak, and you won't even think they're not from Eretz Yisrael?
And you only what?
But just focus on B'nai Brak, or go to B'nai Brak or Beit Shemesh. Then you won't even dream that they're not from Eretz Yisrael.
Right. Okay. So I'm not talking about that now. I'm talking about this. Ir Sherubakum. Now, I'm going to get to it in a minute. What this whole thing about the ear and the country in general, how that fits together, because you're going to see something in the Gemara. Hold on a second. Maybe we should really see it now because we're talking about it. Take a look in the first Maamar Kohemis. This one. It's the first booklet of Maamar Kohemis in page 2, where they have the Gemara Ksubas. You have to keep referring back to the Gemara Ksubas. So it's a few lines from the bottom of the page. Before Abzeira, before the highlighted part. About 6-7 lines up, it says Tanu Rabbanan, in the middle of the line, Tanu Rabbanan, 7 lines, the 7th line from the bottom. Tanu Rabbanan, La'olam, Yadur Adam Be'eretz Yisrael, Afilu Be'ir Sheruba Oivdei Kochavim. It's better to live in Eretz Yisrael, even in a city that's mostly Oivdei Kochavim, mostly idol worshippers, V'al Yadur B'chutz La'aretz, Afilu Be'ir Sheruba Yisrael. But rather than live in Chutz La'aretz in a city that's mostly Eden, Jews, why? Shekol Adar Be'eretz Yisrael Doime Kamish Yesh Lo Elokah. Anybody who lives in Eretz Yisrael is considered as if he had a God. We're going to get to what this means in a minute. V'chol Hadar B'chutz La'aretz Doime Kamish Ein Lo Elokah. Someone who lives in Chutz La'aretz is as if he had no God. Shenemar V'aseis Lachem Es Eretz Canaan Liois Lachem Le'Elokim. The pasuk in Parshas Bahar, it says, to give you Eretz Canaan and to be to you for a God. So that's the rye that if you live in Chutz La'aretz, you don't have a God. Or it's K'ilu, you don't have. So in fact, the Gemara, V'chol ha'she'enu dar ba'aretz, ein lo yelakah. If you don't live in Eretz Yisrael, you don't have a God. How could that be? Ella, lo yemar lach, so the Gemara revises the text. If you live in Chutz La'aretz, it's as if you're doing Avodah Zarah, which it's schwer to understand. Why is that better, first of all? What's the Gemara gaining in this? And also, what happened to the first pasuk? We just threw it away. The Gemara had a raya from pasuk. Lost his lachem eretz Canaan. Right? And then, V'chein b'David hu omer, on this thing about Avodah Zarah, the Gemara brings a pasuk. V'chein b'David hu omer, ki gershuni hayoim mistapech b'nachlas Hashem, le'mor lech avodah limachem.
Turn out the lights and pull the front door shut. Make sure it's locked. Right now it's locked.
Okay. Shkoyach. So, this is the pasuk that we've been talking about with David HaMelech. Okay, V'chimi Amar Lo LaDavid Lech Avoid Elohim Achim. Who told David to do Avodah Zarah? Elohim Arlach Kol Adar B'chutz La'aretz Ki'ilu Oived Avodas Kochavim. So this is the main kasha, but this Gemara is what happened to the first pasuk. The first pasuk was a raya that in Kamisha Ein Lo Yilakad. The Gemara didn't like it. You don't like it, but it's a pasuk. Like, what can you do? Not only that, if you look on the first page of today's Maamar Koimis, I have the page of Chumash here with Rashi. In the last couple lines in the Rashi here, it says Liyos lachem le'elokim. Rashi brings Shekol adar be'eretz Yisrael ani lo le'elokim. Anyone who lives in Eretz Yisrael, I'm going to be his God. V'chol hayotzim mimeno ka'oved avodah zarah. Rashi kind of mixes it together. He starts out with Kamisha ein lo elokim, Kamisha yesh lo elokim, and then when he goes out is ki lo oved avodah zarah. Okay, but he brings it on this pasuk, so this pasuk didn't fall away. And I also have a copy here, the Torah Tamima. It's on page 6 of this week's. The Torah Tamima brings all the Maamar Chazal, and on this pasuk he brings it. Liyos lachem le'elokim. Tani Rabbanim la'olam yadu adam be'eretz Yisrael va'afilu be'ir shuru v'nachrim v'al yadu b'chutz la'aretz afilu be'ir shuru b'Yisrael. The shekol adar be'eretz Yisrael k'mish domish k'mish yesh lo elakav v'chol adar b'chutz la'aretz domish k'mish ein k'ilu oved avodas kochavim. He kind of like changes it in the middle, in midstream. He changed to the other pasuk, and then he goes back to the first pasuk. Shneimar l'seis lachem es eretz Canaan liyos lachem le'elokim. He's a little bit sneaky here. What's he doing here? Okay, so let me Hashem try to explain that. Let me just finish the paragraph in Vayoel Moshe, and I'll try to explain that kasha. So he says, "V'chein hevi Rashi zal sham b'Tanach Shmuel Aleph ala Kosiv ki gershuni." The Rashi in the pasuk in Tanakh brings down as Divrei Targum Yonasan. Shapirish came that the Targum Yonasan says that when you go to the Goyim, they're worshiping idols, so it's as if you're worshiping idols. V'chein pirish Rashi zal b'ksubas daf kuf yud b'hach memer da'adar b'chutz la'aretz ki'ilu oved avodah zarah shalom du mi David. That Rashi on Ksubas says that we learn out from David, and Rashi says mipnei shahayat tzarich livrayich me'eretz Yisrael hel eretz Moav v'el Achish, that David had to run away from Eretz Yisrael to the king of Moav and to Achish. So why did Rashi say the king of Moav and Achish? Why didn't he say Chutz La'aretz? Right? V'lo yomer hatam b'shvil shebarach l'chutz la'aretz. El b'shvil shebarach el melech Moav el Achish v'arish hatam hu rak b'shvil ha-memshala. He says the reason is because of the government that you're under. It doesn't have to do whether you're in Eretz Yisrael or not. And Be'emes, he says in the next paragraph that even the place where David HaMelech went could have been Eretz Yisrael. The Plishtim's land was Eretz Yisrael according to one shita. He says, "Ve'emes kasvu atoisis begitten daf beis diru maskal ve'ashkalain the Eretz Plishtim hi me Eretz Yisrael ve'Avram ve'Yitzchak ha'idarim sham." The Eretz Plishtim was part of Eretz Yisrael, and David went to Achish, the king of Gas, which is one of the Plishtim. The book of Yoshua, it's mashma that's the way it was when they conquered it. That was part of the land they were supposed to conquer. When David went to the land of the Plishtim, it could have been that he was in Eretz Yisrael itself. That there was a Goyish government there. That's why it was considered like he was doing Avodah Zarah. Okay. So I have here copied all the different ways that the Mefarshim that I could find approach this din of Ki'ilu Oved Avodah Zarah, and maybe we'll get shot if we look at them all. There's basically two mahalchim, and I grouped them in two groups. The first group is those who learn like this Maharal. Let's look at the Maharal. It's the Gur Aryeh on Chumash, it's a Pirush on Rashi on Chumash, and it's on page 2 of the Maamar Koimis. Shekol Adar Be'eretz, it's on that Rashi in Bahar. Shekol Adar Be'eretz Yisrael, Ani Lo Elokim, and anyone who goes out is Ki Lo Eved Avodah Zarah. Zok the Maharal, Tam Zeh Yodua Ki Eretz HaKadosh Hi Hashem. The Holy Land belongs to Hashem. K'mo shekasiv Am Hashem Eile U'min Artzo Yotzaru. This is a pasuk from the Haftorah, from Parshas Parah, from yesterday. And then people are going to say, these are the people of Hashem, and they came out of His land, of Hashem's land. Eretz Yisrael is Hashem's land. Lefichach Hadar be'Eretz Yisrael, HaKadosh Baruch Hu Lo Elokim. Anyone who lives in Eretz Yisrael is as if, it's not as if, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is his God. V'chol Hadar b'chutz la'aretz, ki'ilu oved avodah zarah. U'mitam ki mi'achar shehu be'eretz asher hu hi nesuna tachas yad asarim hu el yoinim. That we know Hashem put malachim in charge of the different countries of the world, right? Every nation has its malach. So if you go out into America, you're under the malach of America. And you go to France, you're under the malach of France. You're not directly under Hashem. So hadar b'chutz la'aretz ki'ilu oved avodah zarah. It's like you're doing avodah zarah. And then I'm skipping down a few lines just to get to the point. And he says, V'siyim, and it ends off. Rashi ends off, if you go out of Eretz Yisrael, it's as if you're doing avodah zarah. Why does Rashi say, if you go out of Eretz Yisrael? Why doesn't Rashi say, if you live in Chutz La'aretz? Why does he stress the fact that you went out? There it says, because we made the sphere laid the aim loymar shekol adar b'chutz la'aretz ki'ilu oved avodah zarah. It's not stam that anybody who lives in Chutz La'aretz is as if he did avodah zarah. Sha'anoy b'chutz la'aretz lo yasa midi. If you're born there, it's not your fault. You didn't do anything to put yourself under the shlita of the malachim. Only if you leave it, that's when you're considered like you're doing it. But if you're born there, it's okay. Because if you were living in Eretz Yisrael and you left it, you should have stayed there. And you went to Chutz La'aretz. It's as if you're giving cover to the avodah zarah. Okay, so there's a few mafarshim I found to go with this pshat of the Maharal. The Maharal basically learning that going, it's not like the Rebbe, not like the Satmar Rebbe. Satmar Rebbe is learning that going to Chutz La'aretz is like you're helping, you're paying taxes or whatever, you're serving the nation, so it's like you're serving their getchkas. And to expand on that a little bit, I'd say maybe it's like you're being mushpa from them, you're being influenced by them by living near them. We're going to see Mefarshim that say that pshat. But this pshat that the Maharal is saying is a different pshat altogether. It has to do with Himla Shazachan. It has to do with what's going on in Shemaim. Hashem has malachim. Eretz Yisrael, there's no malach. It's directly from Hashem. So when you're there, it's you're getting your hashpah directly from Hashem. When you go to Chutz La'aretz, you're getting it from the malachim. This is a different pshat, not like the Rebbe. But I'm going to try and make it shtim, and then you're going to see. Next is the hafla. The hafla also goes to this Maharal. Just briefly, last paragraph on the page 3. Sham beGemara shekol adar be'Eretz Yisrael. Yeah, and the Gemara says doime. It's like he has a God. So shamati lahakshois. I heard people asking the kasha. The lashon doime mashma shebe'emes ein loy. Ela doime kemishi yesh loy. That the lashon of doime sounds like it's as if he has, but he doesn't really have. And then v'hadar kamer afterwards it says v'chol adar b'chutz la'aretz doime kemishi ein loy. It's as if you don't have. Yeah? So mashma the be'emes yesh loy. You see the be'emes people who live in Chutz La'aretz do have. Im kain hella Chutz La'aretz yoyser b'mayla. The Chutz La'aretz is better because betzim you do have a God just as if you don't. So it comes out the opposite of what we're trying to say, right? Chas v'shalom. V'yal pi pshuta nira deloy kashamidi. The vaday lo yala adash lo yiyeh kabbalah selakus b'chol ha-mitzvah shebatoyra kim b'mitzvahs diras Eretz Yisrael. That avadi, you can't say that being Mekabel Hashem means only when you live in Eretz Yisrael. And now I don't have the next page copied because I have it in the first booklet already, so I didn't want to bother copying it twice. It's in the first booklet on page. Sorry about this. It's on page 12. Afgam zois biyoisam be'eretz oivehem. Even when you're in the land of your enemies, I'll be with you because I'm Hashem your God. Imkain kol makabel all Torah all mitzvahs hu asher lo Elokim. Anybody who's makabel the Torah and the mitzvahs, he has Hashem. Doesn't make a difference where he lives, right? So that's not the pshat in the Gemara. V'chein lehepech. Same thing, chas v'shalom, the other way around. If somebody is poyek me'olav all Torah all mitzvahs, he throws off the Torah and the mitzvahs, doesn't make a difference where he lives. Ela she'omer b'mailas Eretz Yisrael d'chol adar boy afilu b'mitzvah zu levad kvar doime l'mi sheyesh lo elokah. If you live in Eretz Yisrael, it's as if you have a God just for that mitzvah itself. K'dichsiv v'aseis lachem v'chol adar b'chutz la'aretz afilu mekabel olav al Torah v'al mitzvahs b'emes yesh lo elokah mikumakim kiven shadar b'chutz la'aretz hu gdoime k'mi she'en lo elokah. Basically he's saying that if you're in Eretz Yisrael and you're not showing Torah mitzvahs, you don't have Hashem, but it's as if you have Hashem because of this mitzvah.
Not mamish.
But not mamish, because you're over on kol Torah kula, not because gomer. But if you're living in Eretz Yisrael, it's as if. Why is it as if? So he's going to go on to say that, and it's very long here, but I'm just going to be katzer. He's going on to say basically like the Maharal, that in Eretz Yisrael the hashpah comes directly from Hashem. So even an apikoros, a Rasha lives in Eretz Yisrael, he's getting hashpah from Hashem, but not pshat that he's good, he's fine. All the other things he does are wiped out.
Hashpah can be for the worst, not always for the better.
Okay, so I'm not talking about that kind of hashpah. I'm talking about hashpah of like his food, his money, his parnasa. Parnasa comes directly from Hashem in Eretz Yisrael, and in Chutz La'aretz it comes through an intermediary. So that's what he's going to say. So I'm just skipping ahead because I don't want to read the whole haflah, but the haflah goes in this same department, like the Maharal. And then, for an example of how someone learned this haflah wrong, I brought down an interesting letter here.
Where?
It's in the third book, today's Maamar book.
Third? Oh, there are two.
This one.
I'm
saying this is the third one. Third week that we're learning here. So, the page 4. Back one page. Turn it. It's a letter from the Shinover of Rabbi Chezkel Shraga Halberstam, son of the Divrei Chaim, who lived in the time of the Choy Vetzion. It's dated Taf Reish Nun Zayin, 1897, and this is when the Choy Vetzion were trying to get Rabbanim to join their movement. It was the forerunners of the Zionist movement, and they wanted to get people to sign under that people should go to Eretz Yisrael and plant the fields and live there. But
they weren't pro-building a state of the Zionists were, right?
No.
All they wanted to do was set up, but not actually build a state.
Right. They had no Havamina, and Reb Tzvi Hirsch Kalisher wrote the Ferish that he was against fighting wars and against taking over the land from the Turks. That was the farthest thing from their imagination. But still, a lot of Rabbanim came out against it because they brought there people who weren't so from. And these settlements that the Choy Vetzion founded, a lot of the people weren't from. A lot of them were former Maskilim, in fact. There was a famous Maisa in the city of Kharkov in Ukraine, where there was a group of students that were former Maskilim, and after the pogroms over there in the 1870s, they realized that they can't live in Russia anymore. This whole Haskalah thing didn't work out. They tried to become like the Goyim, and the Goyim don't let them. So they got together in the shul and they fasted all day, and then they decided, Beis Yaakov l'chu v'nelcha. Let's get up and go there to Yisrael and make a settlement there. I don't know if they meant the Medina, but the Lamaisa they meant to settle there to Yisrael and start Zionism. So Reb Chaim always said, Reb Chaim Brisker, he said on this Maisa that, he said that here was an opportunity for the Maskilim to do tshuva. You see, they saw that their whole derech in life was wrong, and all of a sudden they took one avodah zarah and threw it out, and they took a different avodah zarah. So this is the Shinover Rav again, and he brings down here. Someone asked him to join this chabura of the Choy Vetzion, and he says he didn't know what to answer at first, but then he saw the Sefer Shivas Tzion, which is one of them wrote a Sefer. His name was Rabbi Yaakov, I don't know if Reb, but Yaakov Slutsky. He wrote a Sefer called Shivas Tzion, and V'ro'isi b'hakdamasai. Shinover Rav says, I saw in the Hakdama of the Sefer, Shemi Shadar be'eretz Yisrael, afilu poyek mimenu all Torah v'all mitzvahs, die. Anyone who lives in Eretz Yisrael, even if he throws away the Torah mitzvahs, it's enough. That's enough. So Azamarti ki Chalilul Hisar V'Man. Then I said, I'm not going to join these people because they got it wrong. And then he goes on. He says that this person quoted the Haflah. this person Slutsky in this Sefer, he learned it from the Haflah. Umasha Tala Atzmai Be'ilan Gadol Hagoyin Atzadik Sefer Haflah. So he says that what did the Haflah really mean? He brings down this Haflah that we just read, and he says it doesn't mean that you can live in Eretz Yisrael and throw away the Torah mitzvahs and you still have Hashem and you still have everything. It means that you get your hashpah directly from Hashem, and doima can be sheyesh lo elokah. And then he says an interesting thing at the end here. He says, "K'moy shahaya bisman shebeis hamikdash haya kayam, v'hayu shomer Torah mitzvahs hayidvekim belokim, chayim v'nizonim b'liyam tzoi, aval ba'amonosenu arabim ato, shegolinu mi'artzenu, toiv lahachzikas hayoshvim shalom v'oiskim b'Torah v'mitzvahs mitoich chak." He says that bisman is there, the thing doesn't apply anymore. So this is the only one I saw, but by the way, he says this, that this svara of the Maharal and the Haflah doesn't apply today. Could be it does apply today. But we're still going to see that's not a steer to what the Satmar Rebbe is saying, that it doesn't apply, because there's two different aspects of this memra. Okay, just next page is the Avnei Nezer. The next one who goes with this Shita. Yeah. The Avnei Nezer has a long tshuva on Yishuv Eretz Yisrael, and he's trying to explain here why the Gedolim of his time, of all times really, didn't go to Eretz Yisrael, if it's such a mitzvah. So one of his answers is that you have to get the mitzvah of Yishuv Eretz Yisrael is that you have to get your hashpah, your money, your parnasa, whatever, your food, from Eretz Yisrael. And since that wasn't possible, even people who could go to Eretz Yisrael, they didn't get their money from Eretz Yisrael, they got it sent to them. The chalukah. So therefore, that's not called Yishuv Eretz Yisrael. So that's what he says here. Me'ata novel v'nidan didan dihinei yishivas Yisrael be'eretz Yisrael hu ki Yisrael heim chelak Hashem v'lo nimsru b'yad shum sar. The Yidden aren't given over to any sar; they're directly from Hashem. Hagam dichsiv Michal sarchem hainu shehu melitz al Yisrael. Michal is just the malach that's melitz on Yidden, but he's not. He defends the Yidden in the Beis Shalmaila, but he's not. He's not the sar of the Yidden. K'mosh Pirush Ramban lo shiyehu moish alem. V'chein Eretz Yisrael lo nimsel l'shliach. Eretz Yisrael wasn't given over to any shliach. K'tichsiv einei Hashem alokecha ba. That the eyes of Hashem are always on Eretz Yisrael. U'b'tainis Eretz Yisrael mashke oisa HaKadosh Baruch Hu b'yatzmoi. HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself gives the rain to Eretz Yisrael. V'chol ha'olam ha'idei shliach. The rest of the world, he sends a shliach to do it. A malach. Okay, and then he says, "U'b'zoyer HaKadosh reish parshas lech lecha ma'arich be'inyan Eretz Yisrael she'ein shum sar aleha rak HaKadosh Baruch Hu b'yatzmoi. But tziva HaKadosh Baruch Hu sheyesh v'Yisrael be'Eretz Yisrael she'im yiyu b'chutz la'aretz al korchach yiyu parnasasim ve'emtso sar ha'aretz." That the reason Hashem commanded Yidden to live in Eretz Yisrael, according to those who hold it's a mitzvah, is because they get their parnasa there through Hashem, not through a sar. So he brings our memra and he says that's the pshat. And then on the other paragraphs I highlighted, I'm not going to read them inside, but he says that's why people didn't go there to Israel and get supported from Chutz La'aretz. And then he says over here that could be, in paragraph Chaf, he says it could be that it's not true, because it could be that getting your money from someone who's donating it to you because you're a Talmud Chacham or whatever, and you're living there to Israel, and he wants to support you, that's not called supporting yourself from Chutz La'aretz. Because let's say someone has a company in Eretz Yisrael and he sells things, and people from Chutz La'aretz buy it. So where is he getting his parnasa from? From Eretz Yisrael, really, because really the people are buying it because he's giving them a product for their money. So the same thing, a Talmud Chacham, if he's learning and someone wants to support him, he deserves that money. So it's not called tzedakah, it's not called taking from Chutz La'aretz. So he goes back and forth on this far, but he says like this shot of the Haflah in the Maharal. Okay, and the Torah Tamima says it also, B'kitzer. I'm not going to read through it now. I want to save time. So how do you fit this in with what the Rebbe said? So I think like this. Just B'kitzer, I'll say it, and then I'll look at the other Maamar Kohemis that are like the Rebbe's shot. Just keep it open. The Gemara in Ksubas is saying two things. Basically, the first part of the Gemara is saying that it's Ki'ilu Ein Lo Elokah. It's like you don't have Hashem supporting you. You're getting your support through the Malachim. And that the Gemara rejects, because the Gemara says, just by living there, the Gemara says, Just because you happen to be born in Chutz La'aretz, you have no Hashem. That's not fair. You didn't have to. You were born there. It's not your fault, like the Maharal says. So. That's why the Gemara changes and says, that if you live there, it's like you're doing avodah zarah because you're supporting them, living with them, getting influenced by them, and whatever. But not because of this whole thing with the malachim. So that's the Rebbe's half of the memra. In other words, the Rebbe's taking the second half of the memra, and he's talking about that. And that applies even to someone who's born in Chutz La'aretz. Like he said in the previous Siman, even someone who's kicked out, like David HaMelech. It doesn't matter why you're there. If you're there, you're there. Mashenkin, the first half of the memra is talking about someone going out on his own, and that's something that has to do with malachim, and that's what the Maharal and Aflo are saying. That's how I think you could answer this up. And just to look, there are other Maamar Klaimis that hold like what the Rebbe is saying. It's the Meiri on Ksubas. He says, L'olam Yadur, in the paragraph starting L'olam Yadur, he says, it's in page 7, that you should live in Eretz Yisrael even in the Ir Sheruba Akum. He says, the city that you're living in is mostly Goyim, so they're going to influence you, so why should you live there? He says, Chutz La'aretz dires kvar l'Goyim, because Chutz La'aretz is a fixed place for Goyim. So even if your neighborhood happens to be Jewish, you're going to be influenced by the Goyim. You see it today, right? Even if you live in a very Jewish neighborhood, you're still influenced by the Goyim. People who do avodah zarah. It's impossible not to learn from them. Okay, and then in the next paragraph he says, You can't even leave Bavel, because Bavel was a Jewish place. Dino Eretz Yisrael, a place that has like a lot of Chachma, a lot of Talmidei Chachamim, is like Eretz Yisrael. And then just as an example, a practical example of that stock, the next page, page 8, we have the Chazon Ish in the Igros, that someone asked him about a shidduch for some bacher that he should have to go to America for the shidduch. So the Chazon Ish was living in Poland then. So the Chazon Ish said, I'm not maskim to send any yid to that country, America. Ki Eretz Poland, asher hayeshivos kvuos ba, the country Poland where all the yeshivas are fixed. Ve'achashid HaChavetz Chaim shlita shoichin ba. The Chavetz Chaim is living there. Ushar gadol Yisrael v'ayira, ushar gadol Torah v'ayira, dina ke'Eretz Yisrael. Poland has a din like Eretz Yisrael. You hear? So you can't leave Poland. Ushar Medinas k'chutz la'aretz. All the other countries in the world are like chutz la'aretz. Ukvar yifligu b'yitziyah me'aretz l'chutz la'aretz. The going out of Eretz Yisrael to chutz la'aretz is bad. So going out of Poland to America is bad. So that's a practical psak based on this Meiri, basically. The Meiri is saying that's the pshat, and that's really what the Satmar Rebbe is saying too. That the pshat in going in chutz la'aretz is that you're living with goyim and you're worshiping, you're serving them, and having influence from them. And one more Makom, and then we're done. The avodah zarah, the Sefer and avodah zarah, Perek Hey, says, brings down this whole thing about going out of Eretz Yisrael, Kamisha over the avodah zarah, and then it says, Atem be'eretz Canaan, eni lachem ein atem be'eretz Canaan. If you're not in Eretz Canaan, eni lachem le'elokah. And then he says, a little bit later, Reb Shimon ben Elazar Omer, Yisrael shebechutz la'aretz oiv de'avodas kachavim b'tahara hein. That Jews who live in chutz la'aretz are like oiv de'avodas zara with tahara, meaning with a heter. Ketzad oiv de'kachavim sha'asa mishta livnoi. Let's say a guy marries off his son and he makes a big party. V'holach v'zimines kol ha'yehudim shebe'iroi, and he invites all the Jews in his city. Even though they have kosher food, they have a hashgacha, a rav, a mashkiach, it's still they're still like they're doing avodah zarah. The Torah says, the Torah warns about having too much shaychus with the goyim. So That's the pshat in this whole din of going out to Chutz La'aretz. So even if you live in Chutz La'aretz, even if you're born there and it's not your fault, it's still, you could be influenced by them. And the Satmar Rebbe is saying on Ogabi that half, that's not Nogei Bizman Hazeh, because Bizman Hazeh doesn't matter where you are. You have the same influence. Okay. Right there. Holding at the top of the second column here. Ukvar biyarti zeh be'oirech shekein hu gam das harambam be'oid harber rishonim. That the Rambam, other Rishonim hold that this is the pshat in the memra of Ke'ilu over the Vodazar. V'ulai gam haramban yoyed lazeh. It could be even the Ramban agrees to this. Now, just to take a little detour here to explain what he means by this. The Ramban is the one who holds that there's a mitzvah saseh of Yishuv Eretz Yisrael, and in the beginning of Maamar Yishuv Eretz Yisrael, the Rebbe brings down the whole Ramban, and just to look at the part where there's negayah to this subject, the Ramban tries to bring rise that there is a mitzvah of Yishuv Eretz Yisrael Bizman Hazeh, even Bizman Hazeh, even though we're not conquering it. At the beginning he's talking about the conquering of it, in the time of Yeshua and David, but then he gets to Bizman Hazeh and he says, V'oimer ani, in the second column on the 8 lines from the bottom, V'oimer ani ki ha-mitzvah shechachamim mafligim ba v'hu diras Eretz Yisrael. This mitzvah the Chacham talks so greatly about. Ad she'omru b'ksuvas kol hayotzim mimeno v'dar b'chutz la'aretz. Anyone who goes out of Eretz Yisrael. By the way, you see here like the Maharal that it means only when you go out. Our Gersa in the Gemara is kol hadar, but he says that's kol hayotzeh. Yehei beinecha ka'oved avodah zarah. You should be considered in your eyes like he's doing avodah zarah. Shnemar ki gershuni hayoim v'yistapech v'nachlas Hashem leimor leichel avodah limacherim. Other great languages that Chazal said about Eretz Yisrael. Hakol hu mi mitzvah saseyahu. That all these things are based on that mitzvah saseh tabinu l'reshes ha'aretz l'shevis ba. That we have to conquer the land to live in it. So Bizman Hazeh, there's no conquering, but there's still living. So this is what the Rebbe is talking about. The Ramban brings this memra down as a raya that there's a mitzvah of Yishuv Eretz Yisrael. So l'chorah, this is a shtickle not like what we're saying. Because what we're saying here is that it's not, I think, nothing to do with Yishuv Eretz Yisrael. It has to do more with that you're having shaychus with goyim and not having shaychus with goyim. Having shaychus with minim, apikorasim, not having shaychus. So, according to the Ramban's learning that it's a totally different memra. So I don't know if the Rebbe means that he's really saying the Ramban is moed. He's saying ulai gamma Ramban yoida. So l'chorah is mashma from the Ramban that it's not moed. It's mashma from the Ramban that the Ramban learns this memra has to do with Yishuv Eretz Yisrael. Unless you could say, maybe the Rebbe means that the Ramban saying that the mitzvah of Yishuv Eretz Yisrael is based on that. I don't know, that's a little bit of a shver zach to say, because the mitzvah of Yishuv Eretz Yisrael is a mitzvah like all the mitzvahs. It has nothing to do with the tam. You know, if you live there, you also makayim the mitzvah according to the Ramban. So to say that it's batal bizman hazeh because of this svarim, it's not pshat in the Ramban.
Maybe it means not going out. Not going out. It's not the part of living.
You don't have to go up and go there, but you shouldn't go out.
Yeah,
that's true. The Ramban says that. The Ramban doesn't say that everyone's mechuyev to get up and go there.
And not go out.
It just says not to go out. But Al-Quds is saying even that part about not going out, that's Nogei Bizman Hazeh too. And he's basing it on this memra. And according to the Vayoel Moshe, that memra is not Nogei Bizman Hazeh. Okay, Uva Maamar Hasheni Shadaiti Lichtov Mirtz Hashem b'mitzvahs Yishuv Eretz Yisrael Avayar Zeh B'Oirech. The Maamar Hasheni that I'm planning to write, I'll explain this but at length. Here I'm only bringing down whatever is necessary for the subject. Even those who disagree with the Rabbeinu Meir Rottenberg, that the Ram Rottenberg said that the whole thing that a man could force his wife and the wife could force her husband, that's only Bizman Habayis, but Bizman Hazeh, it's only the man that could force the wife. But even those poskim who disagree and they hold that the dinim apply today also, they're still moedi behach memra de adar b'chutz la'aretz ki lo avodah zarah shalom duzemi David, that this memra of going out of Eretz Yisrael is ki'ilu avodah zarah shahaya bizman shebnei Yisrael hayu shruim alad masam But that's only talking when the Yidden lived in their land. You can't learn out from David and from the whole situation there to be Zman Hazeh. The less the achshav lahachtaima, because the reason doesn't apply. Shahaya Azvi made David, Shahalach min Malchus Shaul and Melech Plishtim. The David went from the kingdom of Shaul to the kingdom of the Plishtim. That reason doesn't apply to Zman Hazeh. Okay?